I want to start out by wishing everybody a super happy new year 2019. Great things are happening. This space is just getting started. So hang on and enjoy the ride because it's going to be one hell of a ride going through 2019. Now, I've seen many comments on other YouTubers' videos and channels as well as on mine, individuals questioning why XRP can be staying at lower prices when there's such positive news that comes out almost daily in regards to new Ripple partnerships, amazing progress that's being made with established customers who are using xCurrent. And again, this is on an ongoing basis. We see this news coming out over and over and over again, and I see the same comments over and over and over again. There's all this great news, but XRP is at the same price. Hey, this is Jeff with the HODL Report. Join me on today's video as we take a look at the XRP price and why it isn't reacting to all of the positive news that comes out on Ripple, the company. If you enjoyed today's video, remember to give a thumbs up, leave some comments below, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. Now, in a previous video, I noted that there's a little bit of money that's starting to come into the channel ever since it monetized, and I would like to give this back to the community. So please send a direct message via Twitter. I've got the Twitter, it's either left, right, on the screen here. You'll see the Twitter handle. So send me a note via Twitter, send an email, put some comments on this video with some suggestions of what your thoughts would be on how we can give back to the community. It could be a contest to followers of the channel, subscribers of the channel, or even donating to a specific charity. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from you guys on that. I also want to give a huge thank you to Trybeard for sharing some extremely important health information with me regarding the keto diet. I've watched a number of the videos that he shared with me. Absolutely fantastic. And it's truly amazing who you can meet through social media in general, but I've met some really amazing people so far through YouTube. So, Trybeard, thank you very much for that info, and I look forward to talking to you more about it. Now, let's do a quick analysis. So, why aren't we seeing a movement in the XRP price? Number one, top of the list, the entire market right now is in a bear market. Everything is down. If we look at Bitcoin was at a high of 20,000 and it's now trading around 37, 38, 3,900, 4,000. Pretty much every digital asset year over year right now is sitting at or under where it was, and definitely obviously under where it was going into this first week of January. This was really the boom week last year. Huge speculative bump last year that went up, but this bear market isn't just impacting the cryptocurrency space, although there's definitely a light at the end of this tunnel, but we see traditional stocks are taking a huge hit with a lot of lows that we haven't seen for quite a while in terms of the S&P and the Dow Jones in terms of percentage losses. So we're definitely in a bear market cycle across the board. Now, number two, XRP is a digital asset and it exists separate from the company Ripple. So Ripple has its own set of ups and downs, gains of losses, and XRP again is a digital asset. They're separate. So this brings us into three, that XRP, although is used by Ripple, RippleNet XRapid solution, it is not a stock and it is not directly connected to or representative of the Ripple business reporting of gains or losses. So whereas a traditional stock will react to the reporting of the gains and losses of the company, the direction of the company, the two are not tied together. So yes, there's positive news with Ripple, but again, they are separate. So this brings us into number 4, and I split number 4 into 2. XRP price movement can be tied to 2 different things. And actually, there's probably others, but for our purposes in this conversation, number 1, speculation. We have already seen what happens to a speculative or in a speculative market when XRP was pushed over $3 and Bitcoin to over $20,000. And when we talk about speculation or the speculative market, the entire market is still relatively speculative in terms of the values that are assessed on the digital assets based on the belief in the technology and the belief in the direction that the digital assets are going to bring this market into. And so across the board, there's a significant amount of belief in this technology. And when I talk about across the board, across the world, in every aspect, from the consumer side of it all the way through the financial institutions and the governments, we see everybody looking into this space. We see a lot of movement, a lot of things happening on the ground within financial institutions that are going to embrace and fully embrace the digital assets. And the digital asset investor has discussed this at length in many of his videos in terms of what they're doing to prepare themselves to really take part in or even dominate the space when it comes to exchanges. So there's a lot going on. But right now, the pricing is all very subjected to the speculative nature of this marketplace. So this brings us into B, or number 2 in the price movement of what is tied to the price movement, or what the price movement is tied to. And so that is utility. And by this, I'm talking about utility of XRP on a large scale. So we are seeing XRP being adopted into things like the XRP tip bot, and we're going to see more and more assimilation of the XRP ledger as well as the XRP digital asset into other various aspects of our technology and into many different use cases. But when we want to bring XRP as the digital asset to large scale utility, and in order to achieve the large scale utility, there will also be a necessity of pushing the price of XRP up due to the fact that the large scale utility of XRP is primarily going to see a use of the XRP as a source of available liquidity and as a digital asset for settlement through the XRapid solution that belongs to Ripple through the RippleNet solution, which will eventually be the solution providing for a significant volume of cross-border payments. So utility. So in order for the banks and these financial institutions to provide the large volume of cross-border payments, they will want to start using the XRapid solution. And once they do start using the XRapid solution, this is where we're talking about the large-scale utility. A long explanation, but I think this is very important. Now, without utility, XRP doesn't necessarily move from the rest or independent of the rest of the digital asset space. So as the other digital assets are going into a significant bear cycle, XRP is going into a significant bear cycle. When there's significant large-scale volume usage of XRP through XRapid, it will begin to function and operate independent of the rest of the digital assets in the space. Now, number 5 in this is without SEC clarity on XRP as a security or government regulations on digital assets in general, many banks and financial institutions are delaying their full engagement in this space. And as per XRapid in particular, banks appear to be at this point in a wait and see mode. And although they're using xCurrent, although they realize that the XRapid solution is extremely important for them for liquidity as well as for the complete settlement solution at a much lower price point than what it's costing them right now to do business. They're still in a wait and see mode until they see some form of clarity coming from the government. Now, I'm not saying that the banks won't move forward with XRapid if the SEC or Congress doesn't move forward with specific digital asset or specific legislation pertaining to digital assets. But as of right now, as we speak, right now at this moment, banks and the financial institutions do appear to be waiting for a government response before fully activating the XRapid component of RippleNet. Now, Ripple as a company has taken on an amazing task to compete with Swift. We all know that. And it's made spectacular gains over a percentage, taking over a percentage of the cross-border payments as far as the overall market share. And it's really made spectacular gains overall in competing with Swift. So, and this is only with the xCurrent solution. They haven't even enacted XRapid, and we all know that XRapid is the game changer. And it's XRapid that moves RippleNet, or moves Ripple with the RippleNet solution from being a competitor to Swift to an unrivaled competitor to Swift, as RippleNet then moves beyond being merely a messaging provider, a messaging solution similar to Swift, but then also becomes the source of liquidity as well as a full settlement solution. And that is a game changer. We all know that. Now, it's been noted that if the SEC and the U.S. government wait much longer to issue specific clarity, it may be too little too late, and the banks may end up moving forward as the clock may run out on the SEC comment. And really then at that point, no answer may be all the answer that the banks and the financial institutions need to then decide for themselves. So if they keep delaying, and they don't receive that clarity, that lack of answer may very well then be the answer. So in the meantime, the market continues to grow and expand. Ripple is adding new customers globally on an almost constant interval. Ripple continues to grow their business, and the XRP token, the XRP digital asset, stays at a constant based on the current market sentiment and for all the reasons that we just covered. Now, in my opinion, Ripple is setting an unbelievable pace to achieve a previously thought of unheard of goal to displace Swift. And so that is extremely meaningful. Now, although there is a separation between Ripple, the company, and XRP, we have to remember that Ripple, the company, still holds a very significant portion of XRP. So they are very motivated also to see the XRapid solution become fully embedded and engaged in by the banks, by their customers that are using xCurrent. So they want to see the switch turn on for XRapid as well as everybody else that's currently invested in, maybe even more so, because this is the future of their company, and they understand the competitive nature of this space against Swift, and their edge in this space right now is XRapid. Now, with all of this discussion of U.S. government regulation and SEC clarity, many outside of the U.S. have made comments and statements that XRP is global and not just in the US, so that if the US doesn't move forward, they're going to be left behind. And there's the whole world that should be taken into consideration. It's not all about the US. Well, this is partially true. So let's look at both of those. So both the true and the not so true or accurate part of those statements. So the part that it is accurate is that if the US doesn't get their act together, the digital asset space will continue to grow and will outgrow and grow elsewhere throughout the world, and it's moving at a very rapid pace. So the US definitely does not want to be left behind. And as we discussed in the last video, there's legislation, there's a bill sitting in front of Congress right now that's in committee specifically addressing the competitive nature and what needs to be done in order to make sure that the US stays competitive in this space. So now the part that is not exactly accurate about the statements is that the U.S. economy is still considered to be the largest economy in the world, that the rest of the markets follow. Now, the U.S. banks are still some of the most important banks in the world. I'm not saying that the other banks in the world are not important. I'm not trying to undermine or diminish any of the other countries in the world or their economies. However, facts are facts. So the global financial markets are still extremely reactive to what happens within the U.S. financial markets, what the U.S. banks do or need to do. Now, global banks do business in the United States. So if they are going to embrace RippleNet fully and they want to utilize the XRapid solution, they won't be able to transact with U.S. banks, and it's very important for them to do business in the branches that they have in the U.S., and they're 100% directly tied and impacted by U.S. government regulations and the SEC clarity on whether or not XRP is going to be a security or not. So everything is tied together. So what happens in the U.S. is extremely important at this point for Ripple as a global solution for cross-border payments. Now, right now, the government responses or the legislation issued to the digital asset space from governments pretty much anywhere in the world is important. And we see that it comes out in the news that we see this country or that country, their governments issuing specific legislation pertaining to and setting a precedence for, so that other governments, other courts, whatever it might be, could follow suit in that precedent or take it as a suggestion or recommendation as they're developing their own legislation. Now, many governments throughout the world will follow the legislation and advice from the U.S. government as it pertains to the global financial markets. That's just a fact. That's how the global markets work. Now, the bottom line, though, is that we have already moved well beyond if the world governments and financial institutions will embrace digital assets. It is simply a matter of when the world governments and the financial institutions will fully embrace digital assets. This is the future, and the future is extremely bright. So I recommend just hang on and enjoy the ride. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give a thumbs up. Again, this is Jeff with the HODL Report. Leave some comments, subscribe to the channel. Again, share with your friends. And one note before we part, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not giving any kind of financial advice, but if I am going to provide you with any advice, then let it be this. Do your own research. Invest only what you can afford. Invest only what you can afford to lose. And don't buy or sell based on the FUD or the FOMO that's spread online. And with that, I look forward to seeing you on my next video. And keep on hodling your crypto.